Hello, I'm Carl Peterson. I'm the Senior Manager for Special Projects at the Charter Cities Institute. I'm joined here today by Mwiya. Mwiya, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Mwiya Musokotwane. I'm a co-founder of Thebe Investment Management. We're the developers of Nkwashi, which is a 3,000-acre private city in Zambia. We're also investing in climate finance as well as renewable energy.
Great. So can you go ahead and tell me more about Thebe generally and then maybe Nkwashi specifically?
Sure. So Thebe sees itself as an investor in real assets. So in our view, that's anything anchored on land and cash flowing land. So for instance, you could take a semi-rural tract of land that's presently say a farm or is undeveloped, and that could potentially be a residential estate, it could be a solar farm, it could be a forest, it could be a cattle ranch. We're agnostic as to what the ultimate use is. What we focus on is what the best and highest use of that particular location happens to be. We then master plan and then develop, sometimes with partners or other times on our own, as is the case with Nkwashi, and then activate the project. So, we look at everything from residential to commercial to energy to forestry and agriculture.
Great. So what was sort of the inspiration behind Nkwashi and how is that project doing today?
So the inspiration was twofold. First and foremost, we applied the methodology I just described to a tract of land we happen to have owned. And we determined that the best and highest use of that land was developing a private town, which seems rather odd that you'd sort of like have this blank canvas and assume that, hey, let's build a town here. But there's a logic to it in the sense that Nkwashi is about a 45-minute drive outside of Lusaka. Zambia has one of the largest, or the highest population growth vectors in Africa and the world at large. It's also highly urbanizing. And so our view was that the demand for residential land in Lusaka would be such that it would underwrite the development of a private city, and we've been proven to have been correct in that regard. One of the things that suggested that this would be the case is that we noticed that there were a lot of land developments being conceptualized on the periphery of Lusaka, and typically people would just buy a chunk of land, subdivide it, and sell it without any real thoughtful master planning. And so what we thought would be our contribution to the space would be to be super thoughtful about what it is we're going to do, professionally master plan this, and provide mixed use facilities to ensure that the communities that would sort of end up settling there would be fully serviced with things like schools and public parks and everything that a community needs to properly thrive on a live, learn, work, play basis. So that's what inspired Nkwashi.
What do you think has been the most difficult thing about working on the project so far?
The most difficult thing has just been the fact that the operating environment in Zambia has shifted very significantly from the moment we said go to the present moment. Zambia's had at least 3 or 4 currency devaluations. The first one happened, the first 18 months of the project's life. Currency devalued by more than 50%, and then a second and a third time, and that's been very difficult to navigate, but we navigated it. But it's meant that a lot of our initial assumptions had to change over the course of that time regarding what the cost of building a 1-kilometer stretch of road in local currency would be, for instance, the cost of setting up power grids, the cost of putting in sewerage networks, all those things have changed over time, and we've had to be very adaptable.
In terms of risk mitigation, is there any particular advice you'd give to new entrepreneurs working on projects, whether in Zambia or other countries, to sort of be ready to cope with or deal with unforeseen circumstances like currency devaluations?
There's really nothing you can do, I think. You could price in foreign currency, but then that has impacts on affordability. So people in your market may not be able to afford that. So ultimately, I think what you need to do is just reprice your properties quite a lot as things evolve, so that your unit economics also re-rate over time. And inevitably, that sometimes means that you might have periods of time where you're doing a lot more mass market selling, and other times where it's more niche market selling. So you have to be very adaptable in that regard. So you have to know who your customer is, and that person is probably an evolving persona. So I think you really just have to have your finger on the pulse of your economy, and then you also have to be able to understand who to service and when.
What are you most excited about with Nkwashi moving forward?
Just seeing the place full of life. I mean, already that's happening. We have a lot of people building their homes there. It's starting to densify quite a lot. I live there with my family, so one of the things that's been very interesting, and I've lived there, from when it was just me and a few other families to now where there's a lot more people. And my daughter is like, who are all these people? Because before it was just us and a few other people, and now she's having to share that sort of like town with other people, and I think that's a very cool experience to see the place go from a CAD design to actual lived experience.
Yeah, so I have, for viewers, I have been to Nkwashi a number of years ago when it's still much more early stage, and I've been to your house, lovely place. I've only seen development photos. I need to go back and visit again soon so I can see how it's turned out, but really incredible what you guys have done so far. Are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave our viewers with?
Yeah, I think my final thought would be that Africa is urbanizing really rapidly. The population is growing really rapidly, and private cities are ultimately just trying to fill the gap that exists between what the public sector can do and what the public itself needs, and private capital is bridging that difference. I think you guys need to be supported in your efforts to shine a light on what's happening, because I think it's a positive one. And I think private developers need to be supported by the public and by governments and by investors, because ultimately I think this is one of those rare sectors where it's a triple win. The customer wins when this is done properly, business people win, government wins, and the public ultimately wins. So I think that's a great story to tell.
Awesome. Mwiya, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thank you.